Thank you. So my name's Chana Studley, and happy birthday, Joe. It's thank you for having us on your podcast. This is really exciting. Yeah, so just real quickly, my story is one of I had a lot of injuries. I'd been mugged 3 times. I grew up in England, and the first time I was mugged, my skull was fractured. I mean, I can put my finger on it right here. Like, I know you can't see it, but I can feel where the bone knitted back together. And that happened when I was a student. It was just kind of one of those things that happen when you're a student, you know. And and then about 3 years later, I was mugged by 3 guys who slammed me on the ground and beat the living daylights out of me. I thought I was going to die. My back was severely injured in that one. I had 3 herniated discs. And then I moved down to London, where I was working in the theatre, and I was riding my bike home late one night, and some 60-year-old kid decided to get off his bike and throw it at my head. So the impact of the bike at me was kind of like that, you know, because I was riding this way and he threw the bike at me that way. And he actually broke my neck. C1 and C2 or 3 were cracked through. I didn't know that for 2 years. I was actually walking around with a broken neck for 2 years. I mean, thank God the spinal cord was only bruised. I think it wasn't obviously seriously damaged, because I've always been able to walk. But going forward from that, I was always told that all the physical pain I had was because of my injuries. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I believe what I was told. I was told that I had to cope with the pain, that I had to manage it. And so that was my life for about 25 years. I went to a chiropractic appointment every month for 25 years. And I would go to more appointments when I'd have a flare-up. And about every 6 weeks, 3 months, I would have this flare up where the muscles in the middle of my back would start to squeeze up like this, and it would send my whole back distorted out of shape. I used to describe myself as being like Audrey Hepburn on one side and Marilyn Monroe on the other side. I was that distorted. And then when it got really bad, I'd be bent forward like a 90-year-old lady. I had a walking stick. I was like in my 20s, you know, and I had a walking stick. And I was actually paralyzed a few times. I was living in California by this time, because I was working in Hollywood on big movies, and several times I was taken from work to the emergency room. And I remember the doctor one time asking me what was my pain level, you know, between 1 and 10. I'm like, it's about 15, like this. And that just became my life, you know. They would say to me, "Oh, your arm's numb because that's where the nerve for your, for your arm comes out of your neck, where it was broken." So I never was really looking for a way to get rid of my pain, because I didn't think it could go away because I had these injuries. And then I came across the 3 principles about 6-7 years ago, and I did a course in London, and I live in Jerusalem. So flying backwards and forwards from here to London was quite expensive, plus the money of the course. I needed to save some money, and I was feeling kind of okay. So I thought I'd cut out the chiropractor appointments. And I thought, you know, if I get into trouble, I can always call her. And it was nothing at her. She was amazing. And after I finished the course, I suddenly noticed that all my pain had gone. I not only had the pain gone, but I felt strong. Like I'd spent the last 20 years feeling fragile, because when the doctor told me that my neck had been broken and that I'd need treatment for the rest of my life, it kind of put an idea in my head that I'm fragile, I'm broken, and that I'm going to constantly be in this state of almost being paralyzed. In fact, I remember going to the chiropractor one time in like absolute agony, and she said to me, you know, "What did you do this time?" And I said, "Well, you know, I turned to put my seatbelt on." She goes, "Yeah, well, that will do it," you know. And I'm like, when I think about that now, it makes no sense, right? So here I was, I kind of done this course at like learning how to be a 3 principles practitioner, and I felt strong. And I felt, you know, like I felt better than I had done in my whole life. I'd had IBS, I'd had allergies, I'd had skin problems, and they too had gone away. So I wondered if I could recreate this in other people. So I did start doing some research. I did some case studies and working with some people locally, and they started to get better too. So I got really excited, and I started doing reading all kinds of research, anything I could get my hands on, and got very excited about it. And one of the hardest things I think I've had in my work with other people is that because my pain went away almost as a side effect of understanding the 3 principles, and I wasn't using it to get rid of my pain. People often say to me, "So how long did it take? And what did you do?" And I'm like, I didn't do anything. I just started understanding how my mind works. And that's kind of, the pain went away as I think as a side effect of my nervous system calming down, because I'd spent so long in this kind of hypervigilant state, which I then think went inward when I started doing lots of kind of self-help work. I got hypervigilant about my thinking, which was also still sending messages to my brain that I was in danger. Anything that was wrong, something wrong, then that's, you don't feel safe. And because I started seeing that I was safe, that I am strong, that that, like you were saying about resilience, that's innately in me, I think those messages to my brain just kind of like calmed down and went away. And now I think one of the most amazing benefits, like there's so many benefits to this understanding, but one of them is for me is knowing I don't have to have anything on that pain. Like I can get a twinge every now and again, like anybody, but I don't have anything on it, so it doesn't turn into anything like it used to. So now I've been working with people around the world, and and seeing amazing recoveries in other people. It's very inspiring, and I feel very privileged to be able to do that. And like I mentioned, I live here in Jerusalem, and we've just been through quite a difficult time. We just had another war. I've been living here 10 years, and this is the third one I've been through. My bedroom is actually a bomb shelter, and I always have some bottles of water and in there just in case. And when it gets really bad, they tell us to have cans of tuna and chocolate. I have a gas mask, although it's probably out of date now. And so this is just how we live here. And so when we had this most recent I was going to say flare up, but that's pain. I guess it's a flare up in relations with our neighbors, and I actually had a new experience this time. Like I'd been through, like I said, a few of these experiences now where, for a couple of weeks we get a lot of news and a lot of messages. We have a system in Israel where there's sirens all around the country. And we have what we call the happy siren, and there's the scary siren. The happy siren announces things like holidays and our Shabbat that we have, once a week. It's like our Sabbath. And that's just a really beautiful sound, and it's just an announcement that we're having a holiday and everybody's celebrating and being with their families. But we also have the scary siren, and the scary siren it's kind of like a wailing animal. It's like woo, woo, up and down, and it's really loud and quite alarming when you first hear it. And so in this last war, it went off, and just one time whilst here in Jerusalem, because we're pretty safe. I mean, safety is a state of mind, but I live just a few blocks from the Knesset, which is like saying I live a few blocks from the White House or 10 Downing Street, so I'm right in the center of town near all the government buildings. And so, I just calmly went into my bedroom, like shut the big security door. I had my cell phone with me, which I hadn't had in previous incursions, and just waited for the siren to stop and then get it all clear. And then about 3 or 4 days later, the sirens were going off in the rest of the country. Other parts of the country were, having a lot of rocket attacks. And thank God we have this thing called the Iron Dome, which is amazing. It just protects us from the rockets landing. And but some do get through, and there was started to be some injuries, and some bad things were happening. And I started like watching the news, which I don't watch any news pretty much most of the time. But when something like this is happening, I started watching the news, and it was I think it was Friday. And I've been, I don't usually work on Fridays because that's like our weekend. And so I was like maybe watching a bit too much news in the morning, just trying to find out what was happening. And by the afternoon, I started feeling kind of anxious. And I haven't felt anxious in quite a few years now. It's just like, I felt like buzzy, like, it was hard to describe, like, felt like my blood supply was kind of fizzy. I don't know how else to say it. I just kind of felt a bit agitated. And I thought, I'm a bit anxious. And so, because things were kind of escalating, and we're like brown troops were going to be sent in, and it was, getting a bit heated. So I thought, see, in the past, if I was going through something difficult, I wouldn't mind telling you afterwards. My pride would always conspire with, my with my ego. And I had no problem telling you about things after the event, but letting anybody know during the event is like always been tough for me. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a new experience with this. I'm going to let somebody know that I'm not, I'm feeling a little bit anxious. And so I started going through my phone and I was thinking, like, who can I talk to? And I thought, I don't want to talk to anybody locally because they got their own stuff going on. Talking to anybody else around the world just isn't going to understand this, And I was flipping through my contacts on WhatsApp, and I was trying to and I started seeing I was overthinking it now, right? And then I was flipping through, and I came across my lovely friend David Hill. If you guys don't know, he's a three principles practitioner. He's a veteran from the British Army, and he works with veterans. And I thought, Dave will know it. Dave will understand, right? So I just sent Dave a quick message. I said, Dave, there's sirens going off. There's helicopters landing, just a few blocks from me. Helicopters are going off and up and down all day long. Just the sound of helicopters is kind of a bit anxious making. I said, Dave, I'm feeling a little bit anxious. I'm so glad you're there. And he messaged me back and he said, I'm in a business meeting. Otherwise, I'd call you back, but you don't have to explain anything to me. He said, I get it. I get explosions. I get sirens. You don't have to explain it. He said, I'm there for you. And you can call me later if you need to. And just doing that, it just left, and then and we had Friday night was great. And I woke up on Saturday morning, and I don't put my computer or my telephone, my phone on Saturdays. And it's like my peaceful day. And so it was just so nice not to stuff was still going on, but my level of consciousness had changed. I wasn't in the thinking anymore, so therefore I wasn't feeling it anymore. And it was just such a privilege to be able to not have anything on it, like I've learned to do with the pain, and like I've learned to share with my clients. And safety really is a state of mind. I know people. I had a friend actually in New York who called me at one point. And she said, I've been crying for days. I'm so scared for you. And I'm like, you live in Brooklyn. Get over it. It's like, I'm here where the sirens are going off and we're just dealing with it. We're getting on with it. So, it really is about separate realities, because you can be right in the middle of, danger. This was getting a bit scary and a bit close. And, depending on my level of consciousness and my mood, how I see it, is going to affect how I experience it. And that's a lot of what I share with my clients, sharing. And even in the last couple of days, I'll just finish with this, even how I see my trauma now is even changing, because it even sounds wrong to call it trauma. I mean, at the time, yes, I thought I was going to die. When those guys were beating me, it was awful. And for many years afterwards, I had, what they call PTSD, or the classic symptoms of that. But now, because when I think about it and I talk about it, because I'm in a better mood, a better state of consciousness, I feel those memories with courage and compassion and wisdom. That I'm not experiencing it the way I always used to. And so it doesn't even feel like talking about like trauma anymore doesn't even make sense to me. It's because I'm well, physically, emotionally. I feel like there's so many blessings of this understanding that that resilience, like that you were talking about, Joe, it's just part of, it's who we are. It's just part of everyday life now. So I really appreciate you inviting me on here to talk about this. And I'm going to hand it over to John now, but if people have questions, we'd love to answer them too.